I'm here today at Tampa Comic Con to meet everyone and just have a little bit of a chat, I suppose. Yeah, I didn't really plan this intro or anything, but I guess I could just try and start a little bit by explaining how I became a YouTuber. And, you know, as luck would have it, Hollywood kept providing me with things to talk about. Game of Thrones, season 8 happens. We all like that, didn't we? And it just all went from there. And man, like I didn't have like a plan. I didn't have like some goal of where I was going to get to. My initial thought was, if I can get over 1,000 subscribers, great, I'll get monetized. I'll make a buck. Like literally dollars per month. But hey, I've been lucky, and it's gone from there. And then, you know, I went past 1 million subscribers, and that was nice. And yeah, that's kind of where I am now, and it's brought me to this point where I'm actually being able to come out to these Comic Cons and meet people and do this stuff. And man, it's crazy. Hello.
Hi, I'm so sorry to do that.
This is my co-host. That original movie, it taught you some good lessons. You know, that Mulan was like a girl who tries to enlist in the Chinese army. She has to disguise herself as a man because they won't recruit women, and she struggles as she would, you know, as she would with the physical demands of something like that, because she's not going to be as big or as strong as her male counterparts. But she becomes smarter. She uses her strength in different ways, and she eventually overcomes through that combination of determination, willpower. I don't know what it is. They've got the ability to get movies made, but it feels like now actors are just, you know, they're gigging. They're obviously happy for the roles they get and they can make a lot of money, but they're not. They don't have the star power that actors used to have.
I think Tom Cruise puts 110% into everything he does, and he dedicates himself. You know, and is a perfectionist, and you're right, we don't see that. Is there anyone that you would say comes close to that, like sort of?
I think
The Rock, maybe?
The Rock, Hugh Jackman, I think is fantastic, and he again puts everything into his roles. You know, you can see with the Wolverine movies how hard he trains for that and how hard he prepares, and his performances are fantastic. So.
What about TV shows? Have you ever picked apart TV shows?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a question?
I might be alone in the room, but Nick Cage is my favorite actor of all time.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like,
Who's seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent? Yes. It's, honestly, I recommend it. It's fantastic.
Nicolas Cage is definitely like a great actor, you know, and I think he knew the roles that he played, that, you know, when he was getting himself out of debt. But
like all his indie stuff, I love his indie stuff. Like everything he's doing now.
Coen Brothers.
Mandy was fantastic. And if you've seen Willy's Wonderland, I watched that when I was high on Halloween, and it was fantastic.
So TV shows, I wanted to know what's like, is there anything comparable as far as like good and bad TV shows?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones is an obvious one, particularly because it was so good when it was at its peak,
and then what happened?
Season 8 happened, I guess. I mean, it was starting to go. There was problems before that, but
how would you have written it?
How much time do you have? I don't think we can cover that in this panel.
We've got about 20 minutes.
I did do a Drinker Fixes Game of Thrones, so I made a whole video about how I would rewrite that season to try and fix it.
So all of you go on his YouTube channel and you can watch that later. I definitely will.
But yeah, I remember watching that, and just episode after episode, there was this collective disbelief amongst myself and everyone who was a fan of that show. Like, wow, that's what this has become now.
Have you ever reviewed something that's like you would never watch and you were shocked like how much you liked it?
No. I'm trying to think of any examples. Yeah. Mahler and a bunch of other people, they wanted me to watch 12 Angry Men. Really old movie, back from the 1950s. Passed me by, didn't really know much about it, and I watched it and I was like, oh shit, this is amazing. Like the writing, the characterization, the attention to detail, the performances, everything was amazing about it. And I thought, damn, they were doing better movies 60 years ago than we're making now. Isn't that a bit sobering? And that's me talking.
Well, they had less special effects then, so they...
Yeah, well, it's character driven. You know, it's just literally the simplest setup imaginable. 12 men in a room, they got to make a decision. How are they going to do it? And how can one person sway the group? How are people motivated to make decisions? That's what it explores. It doesn't sound thrilling, it doesn't have explosions, and it doesn't have like loads of VFX or anything. It doesn't need it. It's just got really interesting premise and really interesting characters. That's
Can
awesome.
you imagine someone trying to pitch that movie nowadays? I've got a question up here and then over here.
Yeah. So you just mentioned 12 Angry Men and Top Gun, where you walked out of the theater feeling really good. Why do you think Hollywood has changed so much in terms of just what you're talking about, lack of character development? I mean, surely there's people like you or someone who's creative enough to make characters. Why do you think they're so risk averse?
Partly because one, movies are so expensive now. So if you're sinking $200 million into a film, you do pretty solid, guarantee that you're going to make your money back. And so that makes you pretty risk averse. You're just going to go with what's popular and just nice generic stuff that's not going to rile up the fan, well, not rile up the fan base, not rile up the general public, not start up controversy on social media. Probably going to be a superhero movie, and that's designed by committee, really. Yeah. The other thing is the message, which is really prevalent in Hollywood, but I think it's a reaction to things that they've experienced. There was a man with an orange hue to his skin who got elected in 2016, and it just drove them a bit nuts. And there was a lot of backlash to that, and a lot of movies just started creating these villains, and everything was just a stand-in for Trump. It's like, oh, this guy's a metaphor for Donald Trump. Like this fridge over here is a metaphor for Donald Trump. This asteroid's one is Donald Trump. So there was that. There was old Harvey and the dodgy things he got up to. That really exposed them. I think a lot of them who were kind of complicit or kind of turned a blind eye or whatever. And so there was that knee-jerk reaction of like, well, we have to champion women or minorities or whatever, and it's like they've completely overcompensated.
I just wonder why they spend $200 million on a movie when they could give $20 million to 10 different people or whatever.
That's what I wonder, and I don't fully know because, yeah, you take something like the Eternals, like you might as well just set a big bonfire and burn $200 million. But you could, like you say, have made a whole bunch of really interesting movies that were kind of experimental with interesting directors, new ideas. They might not all have made money, but probably collectively they would have. One or two of them would have been hits. And I kind of thought that might have happened during the pandemic or after it. I thought it might have signaled the end of the mega blockbuster where they were sinking huge sums of money because people weren't going to go to movie theaters so much. There's going to be a lot of people who would be hesitant to it. And so what they might do is make smaller movies that are cheaper, still a bit of action, still a bit of special effects, but just more risky. They didn't really do that. We seem to be back to where we were before. I don't understand it, but I don't know.
Maybe it's because of the marketing, because it's, if you make, it's not so much maybe the movie, but then you've got to put a bunch of marketing behind it, and then that's where they get lost in it.
The marketing is as expensive as the film. This is Hollywood economics, where like if you spend $200 million on your film, you're going to spend another $200 million marketing it. So that's $400 million already. And people see the box office returns and they're like, this movie made $500 million, great, that's $100 million profit. No, it didn't. They only get like half of that. Half goes to the distributors and the cinemas and stuff that actually show it. This is why, you spend $200 million on a movie, you're going to have to make probably $800 million to start to get a profit. That's the economics of what you're dealing with, and that's a huge gamble. So there's no wonder that they play it safe so often. But if they would just make cheaper movies, they could be more interesting. They could take more chances. Right.
You had a question?
Yeah, just going back to Cobra Kai really quickly, because I think it was really interesting what they've done. At the original movies came out, Danny LaRusso was the hero. I was 10 when it came out. You can't imagine how big an impact that had on that generation. And especially with the first season, with Cobra Kai, the series, they moved the compassion and the view of the audience to Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah.
And so in between there, probably about 5 or 6 years before it came out, there was a YouTube video that went viral that basically said, Danny
Told
LaRusso was the real bully,
Yeah, it was
right?
told from, yeah, told from
And they
Johnny
even
Depp.
referenced
That's
it
great.
in that season. But from a writing perspective, how difficult is that? I mean, the gymnastics of getting that audience, who's also now 30 years older, maybe they are identifying with Johnny Lawrence a little bit more.
I mean, I think we all know guys that were like Johnny. You know, the jocks in high school that kind of burned out early and they didn't really do much after that. And you know, probably everyone can kind of identify with that. Like your life after school. It's not always like, not everyone becomes a rock star or a movie star or whatever. Like a lot of people just kind of, you know, they struggle because life isn't always easy. And so it's not hard to paint someone like Johnny as the underdog. If you say like he, you know, he became kind of a drunkard and he didn't really succeed in life the way he'd wanted to. And now he's old, so he's not like this hot young like stud who he was in high school. That's pretty easy to generate sympathy from the audience, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like this felt really contrived. It made sense that he would end up like that, but he gets his redemption arc, and everyone loves a good comeback.
So unique, so unique.
Yes. That was just, I caught that from a video, like, you know, one of those thumbnail things that you do. And back then, man, I was poor, and I couldn't afford, like, actual good whiskey. The only thing I could afford was Jack. And it just became associated with me then. And so I feel like, yeah, we've gone on this journey together.
He's like an old friend now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's helped me through some hard times, you know, he never judges.
Did you ever trade him for Jim, or you just stuck with Jack?
Jack's fine for me. Buffalo Drinks is good actually. But
Yeah.
no, when I do live streams and stuff, I'm usually drinking different kinds of whiskey, and I'll talk about it usually if I've got a nice bottle like Scotch.
Star Wars. They recently announced that he will be doing Star Wars.
What?
Yeah, a Star Wars show.
Taika. Oh, Taika. This is the thing, right? I know he can make good movies. Hunt for the Wilder People was good. Jojo Rabbit was fantastic. But he's got his niche, and like, I don't know, man. It's like trying to use a Lamborghini to plow a field. Like he can't be applied to everything and expect it to work. And like trying to use him for Thor showed, you know, it's when he's unfettered and there's no one overseeing him, he just goes nuts. And like from what I heard, he produced like a 4.5-hour cut of the movie because he has an idea and then he'll just shoot it, and then maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But he's spending tens of millions of dollars doing all this stuff. So to see him do Star Wars, he'll turn it into a bigger joke than Rian Johnson ever did.
Ugh.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can we, young lady here?
Oh, of course. Sorry. Go ahead.
You. Yes, yeah, your hand up.
Sorry. One of my favorite videos that you've done is it was about a year or so ago where you did the compilation addressing the retconning of movies over time where they're editing out things that are unpleasant or racist or sexist or what have you. And I really loved that, and I was wondering how much pushback, if any, you got on that video.
Nothing. That probably, out of all the things I've done, that video got the most like emails and stuff coming to me, like from people saying like, damn, that really got to me. And people really approved of it. So no, I didn't get any pushback from that, I don't think. I was quite pleased with it.
I'm glad. I mean, it brought me to tears. I really.
Yeah.
It did. That's a lot.
It was the sad music that I put into it.
We had a question over here.
Yeah, what's your favorite movie genre, and if you ever like dabble in anime?
Movie genre, it would probably just be action movies. You know, there's obviously fantastic movies of every genre, but like if it comes to just what I would like to watch of an evening, just a good action movie with great effect sequences and stuff, and you know, good one-liners and all the rest. Yeah.
I think you've spoken about this before, Rocky and then Rocky Balboa. Which, I can't remember what you had said about them. What was your favorite of the two, and then why?
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, the original Rocky is the superior movie by far. Like, it's an absolute classic, fantastic. There's so much can be drawn from that in terms of like how you create a great character, and even putting the idea forward that you don't have to necessarily win in order to succeed. beautiful. Like the bit where he's been knocked down in the 14th round.
14th round, yeah.
And everyone's telling him to stay down, and like Apollo's celebrating, and he just pulls himself to his feet. Like, I'm getting chills just saying just talking about it right now. I fucking love it. But I really like Rocky Balboa as a movie. Like, and not everyone loves it, but I think it provides a great swan song for his character. It's very much a story of a man facing up to his autumn years, I suppose, not knowing what to do and having lost a lot of things along the way. You know, his wife, some of his friends, his trainer, and feeling a little bit lost with the world, but finding some meaning and redemption from what he does. And I would have been really happy if they just ended it with Rocky Balboa and not bothered making Creed. But yeah, I love both of them, but yeah, Rocky will always triumph over anything else, I guess.
Just wanted to ask real quickly a few minutes on your ideas on the movie critic industry. About 20 years ago, a guy named Harry Knowles came out. This is pre-Google, pre-YouTube, and the movie studios really catered to him. He was the first voice of the people, and a lot of his downfall, a lot of people think he eventually became bought out by those same studios. Well, now the professional critics, a lot of them are paid shills as well, but people like yourself are, I would assume, are ignored by the studios. Where are they going to go with that, given the history they've had with someone like Harry, and what's growing on the channels now with you and some of the other people you work with?
They'll eventually sue me into oblivion. I mean, my strategy is to hate on everyone equally, and so like none of them try to approach me and say, "Hey, drinker, invest some money and give us a nice review." So yeah, I've never had anything like that, and honestly, like I always assumed that people like me were just ignored, like they didn't even know who we were or anything. I've had conversations with people in the industry who've said to me, "No, we know who you are," and you know, a lot of people agree with you, a lot of people don't, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot of people who do feel that way, but they can't say it. Yeah. Because the industry is the way it is, I suppose. But yeah, I've never felt obliged to give movies good reviews or anything like that. Like I'm just honest, and I think whatever success I've had has been down to that. Like I don't go into any movie with an axe to grind or.
I'm just wondering if they're going to try to re-engage the YouTube community now that it's a different beast than it was 20 years ago.
I have no idea.
The citizen critic.
Maybe it will happen. Yeah. You know, maybe they'll start trying to put those feelers out or whatever. Like I can only, from my point of view, I've not had it. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Rings of Power influencers, got it.
Yeah, the Rings of Power are super fans. I've always been fascinated by like historical mysteries and like disappearances and things like that. And there was one called the Dyatlov Pass incident, right? So it was like a bunch of hikers went up into the mountains in the Soviet Union back in the 50s. There was like 10 of them or something, and they disappeared. No one knew what happened to them, and then they found them like a couple of months later, and they'd all scattered. They'd run out of their tent in the middle of the night. They didn't even have their clothes on properly or anything. All froze to death, all got like killed in gory ways. No one knew what killed them, knew what happened. So I thought, man, if there's a way I can try and combine these things together. So that became the backbone of Dark Harvest, and then I worked it into like a present day action thriller where terrorists have gotten hold of like a virus that they're planning to release that's going to kill millions of people, and the hero's got to try and stop them. So I love that idea of stories that like start in a completely different era, but they've got repercussions that are felt today. So that's what Dark Harvest is. So yeah, I've tried to do a little bit of action, a little bit of horror, yeah, a little bit of fun. That's it. No, man, look, I just want to say thank you to all you guys that have come here today. Like, I had no idea what I was going to find in here. I thought I might walk into an empty room, but it's great to see you all here. And nobody's tried to murder me, so I consider that an epic win. Thank you.
Well, you make sure to go see him on the floor, get his new book before it even comes out, and get it autographed, and you can ask him some more questions about Cobra Kai and other things that he wants to talk about. So thank you so much for joining us today.